to be held as reserve? Ella.
Good afternoon, Councillors.
Good afternoon, Ella.
Worship. So a decision is required from you today as Councillors as to whether or not to acquire the land described as Lot 4 in the attached map at Appendix 2, being 2.2 hectares and containing significant natural areas of cross-strait kānuka. I think the report's fairly detailed, so I won't summarise too much further, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Sure, thanks, Ella. Just like to acknowledge Mr. Trevor Davidson in the back of the room. Afternoon, Mr. Davidson. Okay, any questions of this? There's a plan, detailed site plan there. Any questions or queries?
Your worship, I do. Could I just start off with, on the front page of the document with the suggested resolution, the comments are made would involve minimal cost to council. We then turn to page, on page 4.2 it states zero financial consideration, and then it states down further there are no known more than minor risks to the council in agreeing to acquire the lot. What are those risks? I mean, one stage we're told there's no cost, then there's a minimal cost. What's the
clarify that? Zero consideration is meant to mean that we won't be paying for the land and acquiring it. Minimal cost is talking about minimal costs in terms of maintaining the land. We'll only be mowing the grass areas.
So through you, your worship, we're not only going to lose rates by having that land as suggested in this resolution, we're also going to have an ongoing cost of maintaining it. And secondly, it mentions on the last page 4.3 that it is a significant area of approximately 2.2 hectares of this prostrate kānuka. What are the bushes across the road? On that photograph, to me, it's at kānuka as well.
Yeah, I believe that area is.
I agree. So I just wonder why, as a council, we want to go and buy or take over as a reserve private land of an individual ratepayers, and then it becomes anyone else can then come to council and say, oh, by the way, I can't use this land, how about making it a reserve? I just don't like going down that track.
Any other questions and queries? Okay. All right, there's a suggested resolution there. In accordance with the Resource Management Act, the Council agrees to acquire the land vested as a reserve. Do I have a mover? Councillor Stewart, moved by seconded by Councillor Crape. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, just going for show of hands, just to. Yep. Okay. Those carried. Those against, please.
It's not carried yet.
Yep. Those against. Councillor Johns, would you like that recorded?
Yes, please.
Yes, Councillor Johns and Body.
And Councillor Cousins.
And Cousins. Okay. Thank you. Item number 5. CBD licences. Ella again.
Yeah, so the existing 3-year term licences to occupy the street side dining are shortly due to expire, and a decision is required from council as to whether to offer new licences for a further term of 3 years, and whether to increase the fees so that they align more with the market rate. The suggested resolution put forward is considered to be the most balanced resolution in ensuring that the atmosphere of the CBD street side dining continues, while increasing the return to councils for use of the street side. Again, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, Councillor Park?
I don't know if it's a question or more than a comment really. I've just got a few concerns around the current rental fees being increased by only 10%. I understand that businesses are struggling, but we as a council also have a large debt we need to reduce, and so I'm just wondering, I see that the 4 options are set out, but the resolution, as you say, is the most balanced, but I'm not quite sure whether it is the most balanced.
Yes, through Mr. Chairman, that's totally over to council in terms of where you want to go, and that's why we've put that in the options, and in fact said in the options that you could increase it by any other amount that you wanted, up to obviously the valuation, or including that. I guess the balance that you're going to have to make as council is a balance of wanting to encourage activities in those spaces, and so you wouldn't want to outprice the market, if you like. So that's the balance that you make.
Thank you.
Your Worship, could I just ask Ella and John a question as well? Did you consider potentially as an option not charging any rental whatsoever?
Just to,
Yeah.
it's the same point as Mr. Green has just made. It's over to council.
Okay.
That wasn't a consideration. These fees and charges have been around quite a while. If there's a change in direction, that's
Sure.
up to yourself.
I guess I'd just like to table it for discussion and maybe ask for some views around the table. Councillor Park talks about potentially raising revenue to help increase our debt.
Decrease the debt.
Increase the debt, sorry, Freudian slip there, decrease the debt. And you know, I'm 100% supportive of that, but at the end of the day, are we talking about, nickels and dimes here? We're only talking about $15,000 and an increase to a certain level of 10%, which is not substantial. Would we not be better in this current economic climate to provide businesses with a platform on which to flourish and say, let's not charge rentals? I'm just putting it out there for discussion. Would appreciate people's views. Of course, we would need to police compliance.
Yeah. Just a clarification, Ella, the first meter is not charged, it's complimentary, and then so these particular businesses here that take up the whole, or take up the other side of the footpath sort of thing. Yep.
Sorry. These sites were identified many moons ago as being potential sites, so they've never really varied in terms of the number. There's been one or two added on, but generally these have been around for a long time. So exactly right. So these,
Yeah. And we have been handed a list, a separate list, which I don't want to go into the individual businesses, but there are a few businesses that I see not on that list. So does it get is there someone that goes around and checks these activities at the moment?
Yep, there are, and already that list needs changing because businesses change so often and new people want to start the street side dining. So we need to assess that and see if they can or not.
Sure. I guess in answer to Councillor Jollin's question is that we've got to be seen to be fair and not persuading people to go to one particular business because they've got some outside dining there. We've got to be fair to the other retailers as well. We do encourage all retailers to flourish, but some retailing activities can't be traded outside, so we've just got to keep that in mind. Any other questions?
Your Worship, could I just question 5.2 at the top, legal considerations. It states in regards in section 10 of the Act, it will enable efficient, effective and appropriate use of local public services and infrastructure. Now the Act concerns councils. Which part of that's the infrastructure? Is that the footpath? Is our infrastructure? So we're looking at using the Act, but in fact the Act, it's wording of the Act slightly different to that. I'm just wondering why that would have been put in part. So is the footpath the infrastructure that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Is the council also aware of that letter that was in the Taupo Times of last week in regards to the outside dining, and I noticed that there's a regulation of 1.5 metres of space for walking. By this letter here, that's not happening, and I walked through the Robert Street area just the other day, and I had to walk single file. Is that policed as well? Because that's one of the issues in regards of outside dining.
Yeah, our compliance team tends to have a bit of I use the term crackdown, but that's not the right phrase. They certainly, as and when there's meant to be a 2 metre sort of passageway between the foot, so people can pass. It's really hard because, you could go down 1 minute and they'd pull the chairs, and the next minute a group could have come and pulled the chairs over that 2 metres. So we police it as best we can, but it's never going to be foolproof. We're never going to be able to police it 100%. And some of that is because of the width of the footpaths as well, which do restrict the amount of space that can be provided for pedestrians. But we do try and work with the businesses rather than against them to make sure they comply.
Your Worship, one of the problems that I've got at the moment is the fact that we're going to have to make a decision whether we don't have an increase or we have 10% or 50%. We were given in confidence a list of which there are 20 properties, but in the paper here before us there's 22. And when I read through some of those so-called adopted market rentals, the 10% is going to have a different impact on individual ones depending what they are. So are we able to get a full report of all of those before that decision's made, i.e. can this be tabled to the next council meeting?
Well, I've suggested that there are some that are missing, so I appreciate that point. I think probably 10% reflects a fair sort of figure at the moment. It's obviously prorated on size of the activity. You know, well, I suggest we could get a further report on.
Well, I'll move then, Your Worship, that we table this to the next council meeting on the 10th of December, whenever that date is. Whenever that meeting is.
It's not too far away, I suppose. What are the other councillors? Councillor Harvey.
I suggest that we leave it as it is.
With no increase?
No increase.
No increase, okay.
Your Worship, I just moved, let me get meeting procedure, I've just moved the motion. It either lapses for a little while for a seconder, or it's seconded and then it's debated, and then we go back to the issue that Councillor Harvey's raised about leaving it alone. I just want to know what your procedure is.
Okay, so you moved a motion. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Boddy's motion? Okay, so that's lapsed. Councillor Harvey, you suggested that no increase. Have we got any comments about that, please?
So I would support that argument. I see in the conclusion that says that the increase in current fees for 10% is expected to bring positive financial benefits to council. In the context going on, what Councillor Johns was suggesting, you know, with more of a disincentive to increase it, given the market, you know, with the difficult current, you know, climate for retailing, etc.
Okay, just clarifying, John and Ella, as to when was this figure last? How long is it since we've had an increase?
3 years.
6 years?
6 years, is it? Yep, okay. Any other commentary, please? Are you wanting to move that as a resolution, Councillor Harvey? Okay. You have Councillor Stewart.
If we do no increase this time, it's not going to set a precedent that there isn't going to ever be an increase or anything like that. It will still be able to come back in.
It would, but if the resolution was moved, it would be for a 3-year period unless you change that, so it'd be for no increase for the next 3 years.
And if you're, excuse me, if you're trying to play catch up as well, if you're trying to get to a market rent, I'm hearing different views around the table, but then it becomes an issue because again you're on the back foot. But that might be a conscious decision you make.
Yep, sure.
Your Worship, point of clarification, who was the valuers that did actually that market rental? Who were the ones that actually did the work?
Just in keys.
That's what that's in here, and they are from?
Taupo, yeah. Taupo, registered valuer.
So there's no outside influence on those rentals?
Councillor Hickling?
So just as a suggestion, if we leave the fees as is, perhaps we should just do it for a 1-year term and review it as to see what the situation is then, as opposed to a 3-year term with no increase.
I would support that.
Good suggestion. Is that possible? Yep. Yeah.
You just change if that was the desire of the council, you just change part 1 of the resolution. So it would say that the licence to occupy for a term of 1 year be granted for a nil increase.
Okay, Mr. Ridd. Is that okay? Yeah. And
I'd move that amended resolution, Your Worship.
Yep, certainly. Okay. So Councillor Hickling has moved resolution as worded by Mr. Green. Any other comments? The only comment I will make is that the officers can possibly go away and just make sure that everyone is compliant in this area. And, you know, there's a few there that I suggest are not on that list. So,
like as Ella was saying, it's a bit of a movable feast. These businesses change regularly.
Yes.
We very rarely get informed about that change of ownership, so we play a lot of catch up.
Yeah.
So it's not as straightforward as it sounds, but we will do our best.
But the venue doesn't actually change, does it?
But the operation in there can change. So it might
the invoicing details.
Might be a cafe now,
Yeah.
but it might be a jewellery shop in the future. So you know,
Sure.
it is a movable feast, but we try our best.
Okay, great. All right, I think that's a good, sensible outcome at this stage. It's been moved by Councillor Hickling that there be no increase, but to be reviewed next year. It's been seconded by Councillor Boddy. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those against, carried. Item number 6, Chief Executive's